All right, now that we know a little bit about TCP and UDP and what ports are, now we need to take that knowledge and use it to our advantage in protecting our machine. Because now that we're connected to a network, we want to decide or have some control over what information that, what data flows into our machine from that network. So one of the things we use is Windows Firewall. It's installed in every Windows operating system since way back when, and we can find it in Control Panel. So we look at Control Panel, there's Windows Defender Firewall. Now most of you are probably familiar with turning it on and off. We're going to take it one step beyond that. So here we can see it's set up for both private and guest or public networks. There is a third level, which is domains. We'll get to those in a little bit, but just for now, know that next to peer-to-peer, a client-server network, Microsoft calls them domains, right, is next on our list. So the firewall will filter depending on what kind of connection you have. So private networks, talking about IP addresses there, that's what the private network is. So 192.168 or 10. Whatever or 172.16. Those are private networks. Right? Now, this particular setting, way too simplistic for us. We want to do more than turn it on or off or know that it's protected or not. We want to tweak it so only specific information is getting to us. So I'm going to look over on the left and look for advanced settings. Let's click on that. And what it's going to do is open up our advanced settings firewall. Oh, let me move that down so you can see a little bit better. And there she is. Okay. So now notice 3 basic sections. Left is kind of like File Explorer, right? We have rules that go inbound, and then we have the details of those rules, and then we have things that we can do with those rules, right? So inbound rules meaning data coming into my machine. Outbound rules pertain to things flowing out. Typically, I don't block too much on the outbound. I'm going to dump data into the network. It's up to you to defend against it. Who knows, right? So you can see inside there's a lot of rules that are already currently set up. A lot of times Windows, the operating system, and your application that you install one of the things it'll do is install a rule to allow itself to work. That is pretty good when you're talking about things like Adobe Premiere and Adobe Cloud Suite. Not so great when you're talking about the Trojan horse you just downloaded and installed thinking it was, Halo version 17, right? So let's look at the inbound rules. This is where most of our security is going to occur. So you'll notice there's a lot of rules already created for me by Steam. Assassin's Creed is in there, Star Wars Squadrons. Notice there's a couple of them. You'll often see them repeat, right? So inside those rules, the green check means that rule is enabled. So let's take a look at the Wolfenstein New Order, right? Now notice, I'm going to expand this a little bit so we can see it a little bit better, and do it this way. There we go. All right. Notice a couple things. Where the program is located is there. That's important, especially if you're trying to track down something that's not supposed to be there, right? Also, what action, whether I block it or allow it through, okay? So you can enable a rule that blocks incoming ports, or you can enable a rule that allows them, okay? Right? Notice this one, VLC Media Player, it's blocked. Notice the icon difference, right? Notice the profiles. This deals with public or private networks. Right now, this one's set to all public or private networks, right? And then if we scroll all the way over to the right, there's the remote port. So the port on the other side that's allowed through, any port that it chooses, right? Local port, any port that it chooses. TCP protocol, that's the protocol it's using versus UDP. Notice the one below it? That is also a Wolfenstein New Order, right? UDP protocol is allowed from any port to any port, right? Authorized users, etc. Any user, right? So that protocol opens up Wolfenstein for that filter, that rule opens up Wolfenstein for just about any port they choose to use it. Why not a specific port? Well, when you host a server on a game, sometimes you use a port that is available. That could be any of them, right? Let's scroll down a bit and see some important ones here. File and printer sharing, echo request. Notice this one, right? Hover over it there. See that ICMP, right? ICMP is what controls ping. So if you want to block pings, those are your ports. Now notice the rules. There's 2 for ICMP echo requests, actually 3, right? File and printer sharing echo request version 6, right? Version 4 and version 4, right? Notice the profile, private and domain. Will I allow private networks to ping me? Will I allow the computers on a domain to ping me? I can make that distinction, right? So changing one won't affect the other. Let's see. Here's the protocol, ICMP versus TCP, right? Remote port any, local port any. Doesn't matter what port it's coming through, that is going to allow pings to come through, right? Let me see some others. Google Chrome, boom, there we are. Let's look if I can find it here. Oh, I think I passed it. There it is. FTP server, right? I can host an FTP server on my workstation, which we're going to get to. That port is important. Let me see if we have it. Notice this one finally has a port number, 21. Okay? So port 21 is allowed through. I can specify a very specific port. The one just below it, ports 1024 to 65535. That range should look familiar. It's all of the non-reserved port numbers. If we look to see what dastardly service, FTP server passive. FTP server passive gets to choose a port that's non-registered to conduct its business, whereas FTP server is port 21. All right. Groove music. Google Chrome, right? Interesting. UDP, 5353. Those are the ports Google Chrome is using. It's a UDP. Streaming service, right? User datagram protocol. So it's a connectionless rule, right? That one is also enabled. So if I see a lot of traffic coming in from the outside, this is where I can block it. If I want to prevent a particular user from exploiting a particular port, I can block that port here. So let me create a new rule here. Let me see here. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's decrease this. So I'm going to choose inbound rules. I'm going to say a new rule. And inside that new rule, I'm going to say, do I want a program or a port? Well, I'm going to block a particular port. Right? So I'm going to say port. Let me get this over so you can see the next. Next, am I blocking a TCP port or a UDP port? Sometimes I can do both, right? So I can say TCP port, right? And do I want to spot specific local ports? Sure. Anything coming in, 65,553, right? All right. Well, did I get that number right, or am I dyslexic? There we go. Oh, wrong one. 535. There we go. So I'm going to block the connection. All right. Next. Do I want it on domain, private, or public? I'm going to block it. Domains are safe. I'm going to block it on the private and public. So nobody on my peer-to-peer and nobody outside my network can get in through that port. All right. Give it a name. Call it test rule. And finish. So now, it closed my little advanced settings. So let me grab that open again. So now in my inbound rules, I see a rule. Where is it? What do I call it? Here. Forgot what I called it, so let me show you this trick. Maybe gonna find it. Local port. I'm gonna click on local port, sort by that. Scroll all the way down to the, in this case, all the way up to the top. and look for the 6s. Notice it's sorted alphabetically, not numerically. So my 1s come first. Right? Anything with a 1 in front of it comes first, followed by anything with a 2, followed by anything with a 3. So it's not sorted alphabetically. It's sorted it's not sorted numerically. It's sorted alphabetically. And there's my huge port. What do I call it? Test rule. Don't know why I didn't see it. There's my test rule. It's blocked. So I've just created a rule that works only on private and public networks and blocks 65.535. Right? Simple as that. Right? Allowing a port, same exact way. So I'm going to do this test rule. Right click on it. I'm going to delete it. I don't want it. Boom. Yes. Okay. So I've successfully created a rule and deleted a rule, and I've navigated inside Firewall. Deciding what ports to open and close, that's the toughest part, right? You have to do your research in there. What does my app need? And it may need several ports open rather than just one. Apps might use multiple ports. Services might use multiple ports. So tweaking your firewall is how we keep the connections that we want in and open, and the connections we don't want out and closed. Open ports are not a dangerous thing. So you want to be very careful on what ports you're allowing open on your machine. Open ports mean open access. Right? You want to defend against applications that open ports that you're not familiar with or haven't been cleared by something. Right? Okay, so I have a couple things for you to do on a firewall on your PC. Do those, and if you have questions, you know where I am at.